Greene King IPA Reserve.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got a bottle of Greene King IPA Reserve. Now, I normally wouldn't buy this because it's in a clear bottle, and I'm not going to go over why clear bottles aren't good, but you know my views on clear bottles. They ruin beer because they make it go light struck. That's as far as I'm going to go. Now, I reviewed Old Speckled Hen before and it tasted disgusting, so I revisited it and it was in a can and it tasted acceptable. It was okay. The Abbott Reserve I tried, and on the supermarket shelf it was hidden under the shelf. You obviously had the stuff at the front. I took a few bottles out, got one that was right at the back because they come in a box, and they just, what they do in the local Morrisons, they just rip the box open from the top. You still got the base there and they just shove the whole lot in. So the beer that's at the back hasn't seen the light that much. This is the same with this Greene King IPA Reserve. I've got it under in the darkness now when I'm talking. I'm fucking OCD about this. When I was taking it to the checkout, I had it hidden under a bag. I'm sure some of the security guards thought I was thieving it, but it just winds me up when I open a bottle of beer up, whether it be a green bottle or a clear bottle, and it's light struck, and it's just fucking hard. The smell and the taste is just disgusting, and there's no point in me reviewing it. It's just going to be a rant. But I have been reviewing more or less all the range of the Greene King stuff, and I've managed to get them where they've been either been in boxes or they've basically not been exposed to the light. I haven't bought it from fucking Skunk Central round the corner. But this one I see today, I see the Greene King Reserve IPA, and it was under the shelf, and I thought, well, that's probably not been exposed to the light, so I'll have some of that. So here it is. It's under the shelf now as well. I really like the Abbott Reserve. Some people didn't like it. It's quite a strong beer. It's 6.8%, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's 6.8. It's quite a hefty beer, but I really liked it. It's rich. It's got quite strong flavours in it, and everything that's good about a beer is in that. Now, the IPA Reserve I have not tried. I've tried the IPA. I reviewed that the other day, but I'd tasted that before anyway, so it was just a what would I call that? Just giving you my opinion of it. Really, it wasn't as if it was a big surprise when I tasted it. Watch out the review. I'm not going to give you any spoilers for that. But the IPA Reserve I have not had, and as I say, it was under the shelf, not been exposed to the light, so it should be good. Greene King. If you want to know the history of Greene King breweries, just look at any of the other Greene King reviews that I do. As you know, this is a brewery that's based up in Suffolk and Bury St Edmunds, and they do quite a few beers. That's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to keep revisiting Greene King's history because it's just, well, it's on other videos. So let's stop guessing and let's get this beer checked out. Greene King IPA Reserve, clear bottle. Fuck off. What have we got? Our brewing heritage dates back to 1799. Yeah, we know. Down by blah, blah, blah. What does it say about the actual IPA? Greene King IPA Reserve is a warming, full-bodied ale with mellow fruit aroma and a reassuringly rich appearance. It's 5.4%. Well, yeah, that's hardly a fucking... That's what IPAs are supposed to be, and the rest. Greene King Reserve, Westgate Brewery. That's what the brewery is called in Bury St Edmunds. What's he got? Oh, fucking hell! Aroma, fruity, floral, and spicy hops. Well, I'm not going to go over that. What have they got in there? Does it say what? It's got Goldings. What else? Grapefruit, orange, and no. Do you know what? Fuck off. I can hardly say I hardly see. A fucking exaggeration, but it's really hard to read in this light. So I'm just gonna more or less do it on a blind test. I haven't researched it. I'm just gonna open this up. Now, one thing I will say before I get onto the opening and all that, Greene King yeast, the strain that they use, it does flavour all their beers, and I taste it in all their beers, certainly in all the ones I've tasted so far. Not sure it's going to be in this, but the odds are saying that it's going to be. So, with that in mind, let's get this open. Let's see what's going on. Hooray, it's not skunked. Here's the cap. Usual Greene King cap. As I say, if you're going to try this, make sure you get it from underneath or at the back of the shelf. Make sure you don't get one right from the front, because that is more or less guaranteed to be skunky. And it won't taste nice, and it will put you off them, and you'll have a rant like I do. Right, what are we getting on the nose? Again, you got that Greene King. I perceive that as honey and vanilla. That's what I get. It's got that taste with all of their beers, regardless of who's, Old Speckled Hen, Greene King IPA, Abbott Ale, all the same. The yeast strain appears to be the same or very similar. Yeah, and it's got that. Luckily, it isn't too bad. It's not the worst taste in the world. Yeah. Honey, vanilla, biscuit malt. It's got a very sweet feel to this beer. Not bad. Let's get a bit of head grain on it. There it is in the glass. Clear as a bell. Darkish amber. One finger foamy white head. Medium carbonation. Looks good. Let's get it down the hatch. Bottoms up. And there's even bigger Greene King yeasty flavours in this. There's a lot of sweetness on this, like a caramel sweetness to this too. That would get a bit sickly after a while. And the reason I know this is because the Old Speckled Hen tasted very similar to this, and it was the ABV, and the ABV was stronger back in the day. I think it was 5.4 certainly on keg, not cask. And I remember drinking 3 or 4 of them and just thinking, oh, I'm really not liking this now. First 2 pints were very nice indeed. Afterwards, it got a bit too sweet. That yeasty flavour just, I don't know what it did. It just wasn't conducive to drinking lots of it, if you know what I mean. And this is the same. This has got that same feel, but 1 or 2 glasses of this, not bad. as I say, you've got that big honey and vanilla type flavour, which is prevalent in all the beers. That's there. You've got caramel malt on top of that too. And to be honest, not a lot else. They're saying it's rich and fruity. Not really getting the fruit. No spirit alcohol. Not really any hop spice or bitterness from it. It's just the big honey, vanilla, caramel malt. That's really all I'm getting from it. Then you really have to concentrate. There is a slight herbal sort of flavour that is there, but you really have to concentrate. And I don't know, if you've got to do that, then it's negligible. Them sort of flavours are negligible. But it isn't the worst beer in the world. It's certainly not the best though. That's the thing. It tastes, as I say, with all these Greene King beers, they taste very similar. They've got that theme running through them from the yeast. If you're not a fan of the yeast, you're not going to like a Greene King beer. As it happens, I don't mind it too much. If I had to drink Greene King beer, I would. And they do, obviously they serve up their beer in a lot of pubs. I've not noticed it massively on the cask and keg stuff, but in the bottled stuff, definitely. I don't know what it is. Maybe with the cask and keg stuff, it's fresher, possibly. I don't know, but I don't get it. Well, no, that's a lie. That's a lie, because as I said, I remember checking out the Speckled Hen, drinking the Speckled Hen, and it had this sort of flavour on draft. So yeah, that's a lie. Ignore that. It's just okay. I'll drink this. Will I buy Greene King IPA Reserve again? No, I won't. And there's two reasons for that. It's because if you drank Old Speckled Hen, you'd be getting more or less the same flavours, in my opinion. That's just me. And the clear bottle as well, which, as you know, sends me into Hitler-esque rage. Have you seen that film Downfall? You know, when Hitler flips out at the end? That's like me. I should do a parody of it. Oh dear. What's the verdict on Greene King IPA Reserve? Well, I bought this because, for two reasons. I like the Abbott Reserve. That is nice. And the second reason was because I knew I could get one of these that had been shoved into the back of the shelf, hadn't been exposed to the light, and I thought I'll have some of that because it won't be skunked. And it wasn't. But it's, you know, for all that effort, it's a very similar sort of theme to all the other Greene King beers. It's got that yeast running through it, and that makes them indistinguishable. I wouldn't say indistinguishable, that's harsh. But as I say, I could just promote that as there being a common theme among all their beers. Now, certain breweries have different strains of yeast for different types of beer. It would appear that Greene King use the same for all of them. And if you think how much they brew, that sort of makes sense, because I don't know, but they just tend to put the same yeast in all the beers. And it's a shame, really, because if you're not a fan of that flavour, you're not going to like Greene King beer at all. And if you live near a Greene King pub and that's all they've got on draft, or certainly on keg or on cask, you're fucked, basically. So, you know, to be honest though, I think Greene King, the beers are okay, but I think they're more into their pubs, really. You know, that's where they make their money. Pubs and hotel chains, they own quite a lot of pubs, I will say that. There's a local Greene King pub down the road. I drink in it every now and again, but Jesus, it's a real. Well, saying that, they have bands in there. That's the only reason I drink in there. And obviously, because of the COVID, there's going to be no bands, so I've not been in there since. And to be honest, the service is shit, and it ain't really a nice pub. So I've basically fucked that off for now. And the beer's not that great either. They have all the Greene King stuff on it and occasional guest ales, and I always go for the guest ales. It's just an average Greene King. There's nothing to really make this stand out. I'm going to give it a very, very generous 6.5 out of 10. Oh, it's just, you know, with it being a reserve, I thought it would have been a little bit like the Abbott Reserve. I did like that, I have to say. But with this, it certainly doesn't taste like an IPA. Not even a British IPA. It's just got too much of that vanilla and honey running through it. It's too sweet to be an IPA. So, yeah, 6.5. Would I recommend it? If you're going to buy this, make sure you get it from the back of the shelf. And remember, beer is working class champagne.